I'm back again, Anita Gabriel from The Star Malaysia, in the second part of the interview with Sir Richard Branson. Richard is famous world over for employing the David versus Goliath strategy to woo consumers all over the world. Here is his take on open sky policies and protectionism. What are your opinions on open sky policies? And right now, I think what's stopping Tony from getting what he wants from the KL-Singapore route is because the open sky policy doesn't come into effect just yet. It does in 2 years' time. And so there's a deadline there, and he's just calling for it to be pushed forward. Not so much to that point, but he just wants 2 routes, which is his argument. What are your opinions on open skies?
I mean, I think one should. I think that
you should just.
We should. The civil servants should all move on to doing different roles in government. Aviation civil servants. They should say that our role is defunct. That we should leave it up to. People are willing to invest hundreds of millions of dollars, offering the consumers good value for money. They should be allowed to do so. Our civil servants' job should not be getting in the way of competition, and therefore all skies should be open skies. There should be no control, and the same should apply globally. I think that any carrier that's willing to fly anywhere in the world should be allowed to fly.
Because that's kind of what you're facing now with Virgin America as well, with EU, when there's a lot of debate on the open skies between EU and America.
Well, the open skies agreement between the EU and America improved things slightly, but didn't go the whole way.
Right.
And the Americans have promised it will go the whole way in 18 months' time. And I'm fascinated to see whether they honour their promise. But so the airline that we set up in America, we've had to be a minority shareholder of 49%. We only have 25% voting shares, and we haven't been able to just set up our own airline in the States. But anyway, at least we're going in. At least it's happening.
Yeah, you've got a foot in as well, and then start from there.
Exactly.
Is Tony what links you to Malaysia or at the moment?
Yes, I mean, I mean, surprisingly, Virgin has not had a lot of business in Malaysia over the years. When we had bands like the Rolling Stones and Janet Jackson and so on, we sold albums and things in Malaysia, but we haven't done a lot of business in Malaysia to date, and so this would really be our first major investment in Malaysia.
There's this SIA shopping around for its 49% stake in Virgin Atlantic. There's talk that you may be interested to scoop up the block as well. I haven't seen it officially on record, so.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've read in the press that that they'd be happy to sell if anybody offers them a fair price, and we've said to Singapore, if they are interested in selling, we'd be there to consider buying the stake. But they've made no indication that they're definitely wanting to sell. But if they do want to sell, we'd be pleased to regain 100% stake in it. But alternatively, we'd be very happy with them as partners.
But if they were to sell, would you be open to the idea of having private equity firms owning that block?
Yeah, I mean, but we first of all, we'd like to see whether we could reach agreement to buy it in ourselves. But if we fail to reach agreement, then if they wanted to have a private equity firm, that would be fine.
So you don't have a first right of refusal kind of agreement?
We have a right to match, so so then it depends on the price.
Do you know why they're shopping around for?
They say that. Well, they've said nothing. They've said nothing publicly on it. But I mean, if you hear analysts talking about it, they talk about them wanting to get rid of some of their minority stakes and to concentrate on China. But you should ask them direct.
Yeah, I was just wondering. You would probably know as well. How much would you offer the stake? I'm sure you've done the math on that as well.
We would just wait and see what price they wanted, and then we'll let them know whether it was acceptable or not.
Would you contemplate taking it for an IPO, for a listing, flotation exercise?
One day is fine, but not. I don't know. We wouldn't do it. Not in the next couple of years.
Okay, just back to you. You've got over 300 companies under your stable, and isn't that a feat to have over 300 companies and not be labeled a lumbering giant? So how have you managed to do that? How have you managed to keep all these companies going, yet without micromanaging? Because you can't possibly humanly do that.
I think the way we build new companies is to invest in good people and to give them a stake in the company, to a very large extent to leave them to get on and do the job, and if they make mistakes, that's all part of the learning process. Hopefully they'll make good things. By having 100 or 300, whatever it is, 50 companies,
you've lost count.
they are in their own fields. None of them are dominant in their own fields, so they're each of them are hungry. And it means that we have 350 separate managing directors. We have 350 separate marketing managers. We have 350 separate sales managers. So it's not like Coca-Cola with one sort of, massive big central office with, one senior marketing manager and then hundreds of people reporting to him, or Nike or whatever in the same way. Or we're diversified on a global basis, and it works well. And the other advantage I think of this diversification is that some industries are the hot thing today, like mobile phone businesses, which we're doing very well on. Other businesses like, say, music retailing are struggling, because of new technology, and so by diversifying, we're not just reliant on one industry. We'll diversify and move on with the times, and look out for the opportunities, and anyway, so far it's worked well.
Do you have any conspicuous successes among these businesses you've been in, which you surely have, as well as failures? Which ones would they be?
Well, starting on the negative, I mean, we've never had any massive failures because we've never bought companies. We've always started them from scratch, and so if something doesn't work quite as well as we hoped, we just don't spend as much money on it. So we were hoping to topple Coke as the #1 soft drink brand, and they came all guns blazing, and although it started really well, it hasn't proved to be as successful as we'd hoped. We still have Virgin Cola in 40 or 50 countries around the world, but it's certainly not the dominant soft drink.
You did pick Pepsi up the top.
For a while, we managed. For a while,
That wasn't sustainable.
We were doing really well, and then Coke sent what they call a squat team, and wherever Virgin was being sold, the retailers suddenly had their margins double, the normal tricks. But anyway, we have a profitable company. It's quite good for the brand because young people like to drink soft drinks, and it keeps in touch with the youth and so on. So it's worthwhile having, but it was certainly our more, one of our less successful companies. And then on the success side, obviously airlines have been good, music companies have been good, mobile phone companies have been good, health companies have been really good. We've had retail in the heyday was good. you know, I mean, obviously our media, television, telephone companies doing done really well. So we you know, I think you know, what's interesting about Virgin is we created, I think, 7 different $1 billion businesses in completely different sectors, which, you know, so I think we're perhaps quite unique in the world to have done that. I had quite a lot of fun in the process.